The year was 1274 BCE. Two of the greatest powers of the ancient world were about to collide in one of the most dramatic confrontations ever recorded. This was not only a battle for territory, it was a struggle for prestige, dominance, and the balance of power in the ancient Near East. This was the Battle of Kadesh. For generations, Egypt had been one of the most powerful and stable civilizations in the world. Its wealth came from the Nile, its people were organized, and its kings were seen as divine. Pharaohs were not only rulers, they were symbols of order and strength. They were the protectors of their people and the representatives of the gods on earth. But Egypt was not alone in its ambition. To the north, another great power had emerged. The Hittite Empire had grown rapidly, expanding across Anatolia and into Syria. Their warriors were disciplined, their leaders strategic, and their ambition clear. They wanted control of trade routes, resources, and influence. They wanted to stop Egypt from expanding further. At the center of this conflict stood Pharaoh Ramesses II. He was young, energetic, and determined to prove himself. He wanted glory. He wanted to secure Egypt's borders and expand its influence. Most importantly, he wanted to be remembered as one of the greatest rulers in history. The city of Kadesh was the key. Located near the Orontes River, it was a strategic stronghold. Whoever controlled Kadesh could influence trade and movement across the region. It was a gateway between empires. Both Egypt and the Hittites understood that this city would decide the future of the region. Ramesses II gathered one of the largest armies Egypt had ever assembled. His forces were divided into four major divisions, each named after a god: Amun, Ra, Ta, and Seth. This organization allowed flexibility and control. It showed how advanced Egyptian military structure had become. The march north was long and difficult. Soldiers crossed deserts, mountains, and unfamiliar lands. Supply lines stretched far. Communication became more difficult. But Ramesses was confident. He believed victory was certain. However, war is rarely simple. Intelligence and deception often decide the outcome. The Hittites used spies and misinformation. They captured Egyptian scouts and fed Ramesses false reports. These spies told him that the Hittite army was far away. They convinced him the path to Kadesh was safe. This was a trap. Muwatalli II, the Hittite king, had positioned his army behind the city. Thousands of soldiers and chariots waited in silence. He planned to strike at the perfect moment when the Egyptian army was divided and vulnerable. Ramesses advanced with only part of his forces. His Amun division reached Kadesh first. The other divisions were still far behind. Believing the enemy was distant, he set up camp. Then everything changed. Without warning, the Hittite chariot forces attacked. Hundreds, then thousands of chariots surged across the battlefield. The sound of hooves and wheels echoed across the plains. Dust and chaos filled the air. The Egyptian camp was not prepared. Soldiers panicked. Tents collapsed. Supplies were destroyed. The attack was devastating. For a moment it seemed that the entire Egyptian army would be destroyed. Ramesses II himself was nearly captured. His position was exposed. The king faced disaster. But this moment became legend. According to Egyptian inscriptions, Ramesses refused to flee. He gathered his bodyguards and counterattacked. Standing in his chariot, he fired arrows into the enemy ranks. He rallied his soldiers. His courage inspired those around him. Whether exaggerated or not, this story became part of his legacy. It showed the importance of leadership in crisis. Armies can collapse, but strong leaders can restore order. Reinforcements soon arrived. Egyptian allies, known as the Naaran, reached the battlefield. Their arrival shifted the balance. The Hittite forces, overextended and surprised by resistance, began to withdraw. The battle continued with intense fighting. Both sides suffered losses. Neither achieved a decisive victory. In the end, both Egypt and the Hittites claimed success. Ramesses returned home and declared victory. He built monuments and carvings that showed him as a heroic warrior. These images spread across Egypt and beyond. However, historians now understand that the outcome was complex. The Hittites retained control of Kadesh. Strategically, they achieved their objective. Yet Egypt preserved its reputation and avoided defeat. This battle became one of the first examples of propaganda in history. It showed how leaders shape perception. Victory is not only about reality, it is about what people believe. Years later, something remarkable happened. Egypt and the Hittites signed one of the first recorded peace treaties. This agreement included mutual defense and cooperation. It marked a shift from constant warfare to diplomacy. This treaty is still remembered today. Copies exist in museums and international institutions. It represents one of the earliest steps toward international law. The Battle of Kadesh also demonstrated the importance of technology. Chariots were the most advanced weapons of the time. They allowed speed, mobility, and shock. Their use changed warfare for centuries. This battle influenced future empires. Organization, intelligence, deception, and coordination became essential military principles. Rameses II ruled for more than 60 years. He built temples, statues, and cities. His name became legendary. Even today, he is remembered as one of the greatest pharaohs. Muwatalli II also proved his strength. His strategy showed that preparation and intelligence could defeat larger forces. The Battle of Kadesh reminds us that history is complex. It is not only about winners and losers, it is about leadership, decisions, and consequences. Imagine the battlefield. The dust, the heat, the sound of weapons, soldiers fighting for survival, leaders risking everything. This battle was not only about territory, it was about pride, power, and legacy. It teaches us that even the greatest leaders make mistakes, but how they respond to crisis defines them. As we continue exploring history, the Battle of Kadesh stands as a powerful lesson. It shows that courage, strategy, and diplomacy can shape the world. The clash between Egypt and the Hittites changed the balance of power. It shaped the future of the ancient world. And even today, more than 3,000 years later, this battle still fascinates historians, military experts, and anyone interested in power and conflict. Because the question remains, if you stood there surrounded by chaos, would you follow your king into battle? The legacy of Kadesh did not end with the treaty. It influenced future generations of leaders. Kings and generals studied its lessons. They understood the importance of intelligence, planning, and alliances. The battle also showed the limits of military power. Even the strongest armies cannot guarantee victory. Geography, timing, and information can change everything. Archaeological discoveries continue to reveal new details. Reliefs, inscriptions, and tablets provide insight into ancient warfare. They allow us to reconstruct events with surprising accuracy. Kadesh also demonstrates the importance of communication. Delays between divisions nearly destroyed the Egyptian army. Modern militaries still focus on coordination and rapid information. The psychological impact of battle was also significant. Fear and confusion affected both sides. Morale played a crucial role. Leaders had to maintain discipline and confidence. This battle also shaped political stability. The peace that followed allowed both empires to focus on internal development. Trade and diplomacy expanded. The idea that enemies could become partners was revolutionary. It laid the foundation for future diplomatic relations. In many ways, the world after Kadesh was different. Cooperation became possible. Negotiation became valuable. This is why the story of Kadesh remains relevant. It reflects the eternal struggle between war and peace. Every generation faces similar choices: conflict or cooperation, ambition or stability. Understanding this battle helps us understand human nature. It shows that the challenges of leadership have not changed. The journey through history continues. Each battle adds new lessons. Each empire builds on the past. And the Battle of Kadesh remains one of the most powerful chapters in the story of human civilization. Let us go even deeper into the events surrounding this historic clash. The political environment before Kadesh was tense and unstable. Smaller states in the region constantly changed sides, supporting either Egypt or the Hittites depending on who seemed stronger. This created a fragile balance. Control of trade routes was one of the main motivations. Caravans carrying metals, timber, and luxury goods passed through Syria and Anatolia. Whoever controlled these routes gained wealth and influence. Kadesh stood directly in the path of these networks. The preparation for the battle took months. Both sides gathered resources, trained troops, and built alliances. Logistics were essential. Feeding thousands of soldiers and horses required careful planning. Chariots themselves were expensive and complex. They required skilled craftsmen, trained horses, and experienced drivers. Their presence on the battlefield symbolized power and technological advancement. Another factor was weather and environment. The region around Kadesh included rivers and open plains. These conditions favored fast-moving chariot forces. The Hittites used this advantage effectively. The battle also demonstrated the importance of flexibility. Egyptian forces adapted quickly after the surprise attack. Their recovery showed discipline and resilience. Many historians see Kadesh as a turning point in military evolution. It represented a shift from simple clashes to organized campaigns involving intelligence and strategy. The legacy of this conflict extended beyond the ancient world. Later civilizations studied similar principles. From Assyria to Rome, commanders valued surprise, speed, and coordination. Modern military academies still analyze ancient battles. They see patterns that remain relevant. Human decision-making, pressure, and uncertainty remain constant. This continuity connects the past and present. The technology changes, but the principles remain. Studying Kadesh also reveals the role of individual leadership. Ramesses II and Muwatalli II shaped the outcome through their decisions. History is shaped by moments like this, moments when choices determine the future. The Battle of Kadesh reminds us that the past is not distant. It is part of who we are. And as we continue exploring the greatest battles in history, we build a deeper understanding of power, conflict, and cooperation. This is why the journey through the history of empires and wars never truly ends. The memory of Kadesh also survived because of storytelling. Ancient poets, scribes, and artists preserved the narrative. These stories were not only historical, they were emotional and symbolic. They inspired future generations. Every empire that followed learned from earlier ones. This chain of knowledge is one of the most powerful forces in human history. It shows that progress is cumulative. The clash of Egypt and the Hittites also reminds us that great powers often reach equilibrium. Neither side could destroy the other. Instead, they created stability. This balance of power remains a key concept in global politics. Nations today still seek equilibrium rather than total destruction. Another important lesson is the role of alliances. The Naren troops demonstrated how partners can change outcomes. Cooperation can turn defeat into survival. The economic consequences were also significant. Peace allowed trade to grow. Cultural exchange increased. Ideas spread. This process of interaction shaped the ancient world. It connected regions and civilizations. When we study this battle, we see more than war. We see diplomacy, economics, psychology, and leadership. This is why history is not only about the past, it is a guide for the future. The Battle of Kadesh stands as a reminder that conflict and cooperation are both part of human nature. And as we move forward through the history of empires and battles, we carry these lessons with us. The story continues.